The white night is a phenomenon that occurs in the southern part of Finland during June when the sun dips just below the horizon, resulting in a beautiful and magical white night. However, it can be unsettling, as the light has a strange grayish quality, which is distinct from dusk or dawn. During these not-quite nights, the world becomes silent, making it difficult to sleep. On a Finnish white night on June 4 to June 5, 1960, a violent triple murder took place that remains unsolved. On June 4, 1960, 4 teenagers, Seppo Boisman, Nils Gustafsson, Miley Björklund, and Tuulikki Maki, arrived at the south shore of Lake Bodom for a night of camping. The four were celebrating the end of the school year and Miley's upcoming 16th birthday. The boys rode motorcycles to the camping spot, and the group swam, fished, and drank alcohol over the course of the evening. Both couples were dating, but the relationships were new. Late in the night, Miley wrote in her diary that Seppo and Nils were drunk, up at 2 a.m., and that Seppo had gone fishing. Sunrise came just after 4 a.m. on Sunday, June 5. The exact account of who first stumbled upon the gruesome scene at Lake Bodom on the morning of June 5 remains uncertain. According to one version of events, 2 boys birdwatching in the area saw the collapsed tent around 6 a.m. and claimed to have seen a blond man walking away from it. Another account claims that local resident Esko Johansson discovered the crime scene while taking 2 boys, possibly his sons, for a swim. He left to alert the authorities after discovering the gruesome sight. Yet another source suggests that Sigurd Vulasmaa also found the crime scene and called the police after Esko Johansson. However, Helsingin Sanomat, a reliable Finnish newspaper, corrected its previous report and confirmed that Esko Johansson found the tent first, followed by Risto Suren, who alerted the police. Regardless of who found the tent first, the horror of the scene was the same. Nils was outside the tent, unconscious and badly injured, while Seppo and Tuulikki were inside the slashed tent. Miley's body was draped over the tent, and the area was scattered with their belongings. The shoes of the boys were later discovered half a kilometer away from the tent. The teenagers had suffered serious head injuries with a blunt object. All had broken jaws, and Seppo and Miley had been stabbed multiple times, some after her death. Tuulikki's face was covered with a scarf. The attack occurred between 4 and 6 a.m. when it was becoming fully light outside. Upon arriving at the crime scene at noon, the police discovered that the victims had already been dead for more than 6 hours. From the beginning, the police investigation was plagued with problems. The chaotic crime scene had been contaminated by police and bystanders alike, destroying any possible evidence. The murder weapons, a knife, and a blunt object were not found, even after soldiers were sent in to search the area. The campers' missing items, including their wallets, watches, clothing, and Seppo's knife and leather jacket, were never recovered. The absence of these items could be attributed to a variety of causes. They may have been lost by the police during the investigation, discarded or thrown into Lake Bodom by the killer, or taken by members of the public who visited the unsecured crime scene. Though many items were recovered, most were soaked in blood, rendering any evidence useless. When the police interviewed the sole survivor, Nils, who had suffered a head injury, he could recall little of the attack or the preceding evening and afternoon. The only memory he had was of a blond man who he glimpsed through a rip in the tent as he attacked them. During the investigation, the police interviewed 4,000 people, a significant number considering that Finland's population in 1960 was only 4.4 million. One witness, Olavi Kivilahti, 14, was fishing on an outcrop west of the campsite in the early morning hours but heard nothing. He did, however, see a blond man around 20 to 30 years old and approximately 1.7 meters, 5 foot 8 inches tall, running south from the tent's location at around 6 a.m. This matched the accounts given by the bird-watching youngsters, who had seen a blond man walking away from the tent around the same time. During the investigation, the funerals of Seppo, Miley, and Tuulikki took place on June 13th. Their white coffins were adorned with sweet pea blossoms, and they were buried together in the town of Tikkurila. Tragically, Tuulikki's mother passed away just 6 months after her daughter's death at the age of 51. Numerous suspects have been named in the Lake Bodom case since 1960. One of the main suspects is Carl Valdemar Gillström, a Swedish-speaking Finn, who ran a summer kiosk near the victim's camping spot. He was known for his temper and dislike of campers. Gillström had mental health issues and a drinking problem. He allegedly confessed to the murders in 1969 while intoxicated, but the police were satisfied with his alibi that he was with his wife on the night of the killings. Gillström drowned himself in Lake Bodom after a 3-day drinking binge. The second main suspect is Hans Assman, a German immigrant who moved to Finland in the early 1950s. He lived near Lake Bodom and fit the description of the blonde man seen near the tent by others on the morning of June 5. Both Nils and Olavi Kivilahti, who had seen a blonde man on the morning of the murders, described a man who looked like Assman after being hypnotized. After the murders, Assman went to the hospital with his fingernails black with dirt and his clothes covered in dirt and reddish stains that looked like blood. Although questioned by the police, he was dismissed as a suspect as he had a solid alibi. There is no motive for Assman's involvement in the Lake Bodom murders, and it is unclear why he would kill 3 teenagers who were unknown to him. However, he was imprisoned in 1963 for attacking his wife, and he has been linked to other unsolved murders of young people in Finland. In 2004, modern forensic techniques were used to re-examine the tent and other evidence related to the murders of 3 teenagers in Finland. Nils Gustafsson, the sole survivor of the incident, who was then age 62, was charged with the crimes. Despite being a married father of 2 who had been working as a bus driver, the prosecution claimed that Nils had killed his best friend Seppo and their female companions Miley and Tuulikki using rocks and a knife. The families of the murdered teens supported his prosecution. According to the prosecution, Nils had a sexual jealousy motive and flew into a jealous rage over Miley. His broken jaw was the result of Nils fighting with Seppo over the girls. Nils' shoes, which had traces of the 3 murder victims' blood, were a key exhibit in the prosecution's case. The defense, on the other hand, argued that an unknown person had approached the tent where Nils and the others were camping, cut the guy ropes, causing the tent to collapse, and then stabbed and bludgeoned the 4 campers through the fabric as they lay trapped. The defense claimed that Nils was also a victim, and his injuries were too severe to have been self-inflicted. Nils was ultimately acquitted of all charges in 2005 and was awarded 44,900 euros in damages for mistreatment by the police and media. During his trial, a reporter asked him how he knew he was innocent if he couldn't remember anything about that night, to which he simply replied, "I'm innocent, that's that." The case remains a mystery to this day, and it has become one of the most infamous unsolved murder cases in Finnish history. The legend of Bodom killer lives on. Still, children are told not to stay at the lake at night, because the Bodom killer could still be lurking there. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more daily content, and as always, stay legal.